super, super excited to have you here with me today. And you are special to me for many reasons. And I'm going to tell you, I think our relationship was one that I never knew I needed for various things. And I think over the course of our relationship, we've noticed that actually we do have certain synergies that align more than we thought, which I think has always been super cool to hear from you. And, you know, me also mentioning to you that, you know, my goodness, like I needed you today. And I think, you know, like I said, it's a relationship that I never knew that I needed to have, but also you just allow me to be helpless. You just allow me to be vulnerable. You also allow me to unpack and not even batter an eyelid at what I'm unpacking. Do you know what I mean? I think it's super special when you have someone that can do that for you. And, you know, when we do meet and I go away, I'm like, I can now just breathe because I was able to release it all, you know, and I appreciate you for that. And I love you so much for that because, you know, there's not many people that like I said, that can do that for each other. So Zakariya for being on the sofa with me today. And, you know, you, like I said, you are a friend of mine. You're an awesome businesswoman. But I want to talk about you, the work you do, the journey that it has taken to get to where you are now. And I want to cover all bases. I want to cover the, you know, Zahra, owner of Fariha Network. I want to cover Zahra, who she is. Zahra, the mum. Zahra, the wife. Zahra, the expat. Like, I want to cover all of that as much as we can because I think there's so many gems in your journey and there's so many moments that, you know, we forget that we just need to breathe. But you somehow have always breathed at whatever moment that is. So I really, really want to dive into that. But before we get to that, just explain to everybody who this awesomeness is sitting in front of you today.
Oh, you're such a darling. Thank you so much, sis. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for always being such an amazing role model, showing us what is possible, showing us how to be courageous, showing us how to show up even with all of our different hats and our roles and our responsibilities. And, you know, that doesn't go unnoticed, that doesn't go unappreciated. And you don't realize how much you just being there, doing your thing inspires all of us because the journey isn't always easy. The journey isn't always immediately rewarding. And so it's those moments to be able to just sit and see, okay, look at what Sister Jennifer is doing. Look at what she's been able to achieve that keep a lot of us patient on this journey. Alhamdulillah, you know, without having to, you know, expose the awesomeness of this relationship. You know, thank you for even what you said is so amazing, like being there when you don't even know you need it. And, you know, my current season that I'm in is one of transition with moving back to the UK and whatnot. And, you know, there's a moment I'm just like, yeah, Sister Jennifer just showed up for me immensely. And I appreciate you. I love you for that. And I hope that we're able to cultivate that village a lot more because I think that that's what we need as women. Oftentimes we can't communicate it, but we need it. And it's amazing to have somebody who can just say,
guys, these words that she's saying, there's a part of me that's like, oh, stop, but there's also a part of me that's like, I need to hear it. You know, sometimes you really do.
We do. So, you know, a bit of a track back. Who am I? I've told myself that I'm going to, in this season of my life, I'm going to be introducing myself as a mum, as a wife, as a nurturer, a cultivator of my home, of my community, because that really is, you know, my core identity. That is my core identity. I am a nurturer. I am a caretaker. I am a cultivator. And whether that is my home, whether that is, you know, in raising my children, in supporting my husband, in, you know, building up my community and supporting the sisters of my community, that is my core identity, who I am. And everything else on top of that is, you know, peripheral. You know, they come and go depending on the season, but that is my core. I am the founder of the Fariha Network. We are on a mission to just cultivate a global community of grounded, empowered, resilient Muslim women, supporting ourselves through this journey of life with all the different seasons that come with that. And we host monthly sessions. We call them Tawakkul circles, where we just come and we just share our stories of trusting in Allah, of cultivating that relationship with Him. Those, you know, stories of triumph, of trial, and so much goodness has come from those sessions and those circles. We have a book club as well. We meet once a week. We're currently reading Atomic Habits. So, you know, we read a combination of books, some spiritual, some personal development, because I love to operate at the intersection of spiritual and personal development, because I believe that Islam has all the answers. All the answers to all of the ailments that we're in need of healing of, all that we need to flourish as women, to thrive, whether it's at home or at work or both together. But oftentimes there's something missing. So many of us are on this personal development journey, but again, something is missing, and that's oftentimes spirituality. And so I love to kind of find that intersection and really hone on that, and, you know, help myself first and foremost and the women of my community draw strength from that and find meaning in that. So it's not just waking up doing miracle morning. You know, it's, you know, waking up doing miracle morning, but anchoring that on Fajr, Tahajjud, you know, and I think that makes it soul deep, and makes it make sense, and makes it wholesome, and completes that cycle for us. So that's been my core work. That's been my calling. I started it 8 years ago after I had my daughter, because I had a spat with postpartum psychosis, which was, you know, a huge turning point in my life, a huge clarity point in my life and my journey, going through that experience after the birth of my daughter, and that birthed the Fariha Network. And I feel like that's why no matter where I am in life, the Fariha Network is a constant, because it was born out of something greater than myself. It was born in a moment of absolute vulnerability and I had absolutely nothing but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the support of my family and my friends. And just that realization that there are women who go through this and worse that don't have that support. And that's really the spirit that the Fariha Network started with. And we've evolved since then, you know, according and adapted according to what our community needs, and where in life I am. You know, but on top of that, you know, I have a BSc in economics. I started out my career in strategy and operations for one of the big 4 consulting firms. So I have my professional identity. I moved to Nigeria 5 years ago, where I dabbled in lots of different things, from, you know, media, working with multinationals, trying to support them in their, you know, I call it diversity and inclusion, and particularly with the Muslim community, having that representation in the media, you know, with multinational companies doing, you know, TV shows, radio shows. I started a little consulting boutique where I was working with high network individuals and philanthropists, helping them structure their foundations, run and implement projects for them. And that's me, you know, putting my strategy and operations hat on. I've done events in Nigeria for the Muslim community called The Essence. I ran that 2 years in a row.
And let's just let it be known, because she just said The Essence. She just said The Essence like it was just a small event. Please, The Essence is equivalent to one Eid in the UK, if not bigger.
It was huge.
Right? So please put some respect on The Essence.
To all my Essence fans, I love you.
You know, it's sitting here in the UK and watching The Essence unfold. As someone who loves doing events, that is like the goal of events, like to host like such a massive event like that, but then also seeing the background stuff. And what went into it, and you know, all the stuff that didn't go into it, you know. But we need to put some respect on that.
Okay, I respect you, Essence. But on that event, it took my blood, sweat, tears, my soul. It caused my 2017 burnout, because I put everything, every inch of my being into it, in a very tough and difficult terrain that Nigeria is, you know, more or less, you know, sponsoring it myself, and really scraping for support. So it was intense. It still gives me not nightmares, sleepless nights, but it's still a cause of a lot of overwhelm for me and fear. You know, haven't done something so huge.
Yeah.
But alhamdulillah, it taught me so much, and perhaps we can, you know, unpack that at some point during this conversation.
Definitely.
Huge, another huge like milestone, pivotal point in my life. So many lessons that I learned through that experience of, you know, going into a new environment, going into, you know, moving to Nigeria and going in with so much hope and aspirations and just putting your all into something in a very difficult environment and to you not feeling that you've succeeded.
Yeah.
Whereas to other people, it's like, you know, and then that mismatch between what the world sees and what you feel in your heart.
Yeah.
And that's so huge. And then the identity crisis that sometimes come from that, you know, when you attach your sense of self-worth to the work that you do, you know, and just so much. There was so much that I had to unpack.
Yeah.
And so many lessons I had to learn through that time. But alhamdulillah, it has led me on this path that I'm on now. So I wouldn't change anything for the world. But alhamdulillah, that's like a, you know, I hope I haven't forgotten anything, but that's like a brief.
And you know what? That's what I love about you, Zahra,
CV.
because you are so multifaceted. And you do change caps really quickly. Like, you know, if you need to be the strategist, you're the strategist. If you need to be the mum, you're the mum. Like, you do not shy away from changing your caps. And I think once we listen more and more into your journey, people would be able to understand why you're able to do that. Because I think not everybody, I think we all like to think we can do that, but some people make it look so effortless. And mashallah, tabarakallah, I think you are definitely one of those people. But I want to go all the way back, all the way back to the beginning. I want to go back to the beginning. Why? Because your upbringing, especially mummy's upbringing, a fellow revert like your mum, mashallah, you know, when I was listening to some of the stories that you guys had growing up and stuff like that, like I was really blown away because, you know, as also a revert who also has a Christian family, you know, it's tough. But again, I think you probably get it from your mum, like the whole journey just seems so effortless. But I want to know about your upbringing.
Yes.
You know, how was that for you?
So I think that honestly, my upbringing is the pivotal part or the cornerstone of who I am, who we are, even our siblings and all of that. It's been our upbringing. And I say all the time that the best decision that my parents made for us was deciding to relocate the entire family from the UK to Nigeria in 2000. I was 9 at the time. My sister was just finishing year 6, going into secondary school. My brothers were 6 at the time. And at that time, why I say it was so, what I think was so unique about it was that a lot of parents were wanting to send their kids to Nigeria and they would send them and then send them to boarding house, send them to live with families and conditions that a child that was born and bred in the UK that's never been to Nigeria, you then go to like a village setting. You're living with a grandma or relatives that you don't know, and you end up actually feeling abandoned, and it's actually has psychologically affected those kids worse. So the benefit you wanted to achieve by sending them back home, you didn't achieve it. They start to feel neglected, like, oh, my parents and my siblings are in London enjoying and I'm here suffering. Whereas when my parents decided we were going to move, we all moved together. So for me, I would say, you know, during the times where maybe there's no light or there's no water and you're fetching water from the well, we're all doing it together. And so nobody feels like abandoned. So I think that was the first amazing decision that they made, that they decided to make that sacrifice and come and move everyone together. I would say that my mum, you know, huge champion, because then the narrative was that, oh, kids who come from the UK are dollars, they don't know anything. And I remember doing the entrance exam and I think it was for year 5, and they wanted to push me back to year 4 because in Nigeria it's by merit, it's not by age. So you can repeat a class 3 times if you don't pass. And I remember my mum putting her foot down and saying no, that yes, she's failed this exam, but that's because she has never been taught this, but teach her and she will be able to do well. And they reluctantly agreed. But that was my mum fighting my corner and believing in me at the age of 9. And I remember that till now. Imagine if she hadn't. And I remember going in and it was in Nigeria that I realized what motivated me. So I came and I failed. I flunked the entrance exam.
Wow.
And they reluctantly let me up, but I was a write-off in their eyes.
Okay.
And I remember that first term, obviously I'm a natural leader. We didn't have a class captain. So in Nigeria, you have class captains and stuff like that. And they said, whoever comes first that term will be the class captain. And that was my motivator. That was my motivator. And I was like, I'm going to come first because I want to be a class captain.
Yeah.
And I studied my butt off and I prayed. This was when I really established my relationship with Allah as well.
Okay.
I prayed every day because I really wanted to be the class captain.
Yeah.
So Nigeria taught me motivation. Nigeria taught me that I could have a natural tendency to be lazy or take the easy way out. But if I find something that motivates me, I can push myself. That's when I learned I could do that. And I came first. And they were all amazed. They were like, "Hey, this one that failed the test coming in, topped the whole class." They were absolutely amazed, like I was a legend in the school. And I remember my sister also doing amazingly well. She also topped her class as well. And my uncles who were living with us were saying to me that, "Oh, it's because you're in primary school. That's why you came first. By the time you get to secondary school, you're not going to come first anymore." Another challenge.
Okay.
So that was another, I wanted to prove them wrong. And the same thing again. And that was how throughout my time in Nigeria, I topped my class. So that's just like a bit of a sneak peek into that background, sending us home, having an environment that is challenging, that's competitive. It really, gingered a part of myself or unlocked a part of myself, alhamdulillah, that helped me to flourish in that way. The other thing I would say is that my dad is the one that you come home with a test score 95%, you're happy with yourself. My dad said, what happened to the remaining 5%? And you'd be like, I've told this story so many times. And you'd be like, oh my gosh, like people are being celebrated for getting D's. I'm literally at 95. You asked me for the remaining 5%. So that kind of always allowed us, we were never complacent. We were always on our toes. I say that in my adulthood, however, that tendency to always look at the 5% that was missing manifested negatively a bit, because then I became very much a perfectionist. I became somebody who, like with the essence, 99% amazing, 1% bad is that 1% bad that I would fixate on. And so that's something that I've had to actively seek to unlearn, and something that motherhood actually has taught me about. You don't look at the 1% that you haven't done perfectly, because there's no perfection. There's going to be those days, the laundry is all over the place, the dishes, You look at the 10% that you have done, and you celebrate that 10%. That's what motherhood has taught me, alhamdulillah. And it's broken that chain of always trying to make sure everything is perfect, and never being satisfied with what you are able to do. Alhamdulillah, I've learnt, and I'm really like establishing that appreciation of what you have been able to do, even if it's 10%.
No, absolutely. And I think you're absolutely right. I think motherhood in all its shapes and forms will come and show you who the real you is. But also I also love what you said about the fact that, I was also the same. I fixate on that small percentage that it didn't. And it's only through, motherhood, through entrepreneurship, that actually, if I don't celebrate what I've got right, I will never be able to continue doing what I'm doing. And it's something that I deeply resonate with. Muslim. The narrative always is to keep positive and to always look at the consistent things that you've done, rather than looking at the things that you haven't done. MashaAllah, your childhood, I think, like you said, alhamdulillah, your parents done the right thing in sending you back to Nigeria without the feeling of abandonment.
Coming with us.
Right? That sense of the village that came with you. And that taught you resilience. But also, it also motivated you.
100%.
To the point where, you was like, okay, this is a thing. We're in this situation. I didn't do that great, which is fine. You flunked the entrance, but I can still go on and achieve so many other things, right? So now
I had a backer, remember?
Say that again?
I had a backer. I had someone who believed in me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, it's a credit to your parents, because when we sit down and, when I think about my parents, they were there. Yes, we had some sort of backing, but there was also an element of just being left as well. And I think that manifested to me in my older years as having this feeling of just floating and actually not really knowing where to ground myself. And I think this is why your grounding is so important to you.
Yeah.
Before this morning when I was getting ready, I was like, do you know what, in this conversation I need to be barefooted because the level of grounding that that emanates from you, Zahra, I don't know if you know it or if someone has ever told you, but you emanate this level of grounding, and it shows because it's come from really early on in your journey. So now you guys have done primary, secondary.
Yeah.
Those teen years, what were they like for you?
So those teen years, as I said, my formative years were in Nigeria. I was there for 5 years, from 9 till 14. And as I said, Nigeria is a very different environment, but I think that it was great for our family because there was a concerted effort to cultivate family time.
Yeah.
My dad traveled during the week for work, so at the weekends we would have family meetings. On Sunday we'll do family asalato together, we'll do breakfast together. So there was that family bond that was formed intentionally. After Salah we would do Quran together. So I loved Nigeria for that. It gave us that. UK, I don't know what it is about UK that's just like the Nigeria was fadburu. Everybody's just working. It also taught us how to be down to earth because you see people who are less fortunate than you, and you recognize your privilege. And because of, again, the way we were brought up, we were brought up to recognize that privilege, but never ever take it for granted. It's a ni'mah from Allah. It's a barakah from Allah. It's an amana. And so again, that gave us that fantastic grounding in that sense. The other great thing about my, teen years was that by the time I was 14, my sister had moved back to the UK a year prior, and I joined her the following year, and we went and lived with my grandma in Nigeria. Back in the UK, I started year 10, and my mum stayed back in Nigeria with my brothers, and so there was independence. So we were never babied. Even from as young as 10, 11, we had allowances in Nigeria, and my dad would always give us an allowance a bit more than what we actually need to encourage us to save. And so we were never ones that, if we need something, we go to mommy and daddy. Oh, we will save, and we would. So I remember when me and my sister wanted to get our first phone, we had saved money. I think when uncle had came and gave us some extra money, and we wrote a proposal to my dad. This is how we're going to afford the SIM card. This is da-da-da-da-da. We want to And that's it. We were, how old was I? 10, 11? But that's the way we were brought up. And so even when we moved back to the UK, we were given an allowance. And so whereas other kids are going to the mum, oh, I want to go to cinema with my friends. Please, can I have £10? You look at your allowance and you say, okay, can I afford it? We didn't have to ask permission from our grandma to say, oh, can we? We would say this. We had to be responsible and say, we're doing this in form. And so I think that independence really, again, and the trust that our parents had. We weren't coddled. And alhamdulillah, answered du'as, all of that from just parents. Obviously, it's scary. Teen children in the UK, inner city. We were in Hackney then. But just that trust in Allah. And alhamdulillah, we kept on the straight and narrow. The difficult part about coming back, however, was that I became very lazy because I played through my GCSE. The stuff that we were learning, I had learned it 2-3 years earlier.
So it wasn't even challenging again.
It was not challenging at all. It wasn't challenging. And I needed a challenge, don't I? Alhamdulillah, I got A stars and A's for my GCSEs, but I didn't really have to work that hard
to get
it. Was very easy because I did up to SS1 in Nigeria, and the stuff that we were learning GCSEs was like GS2, GS3 work. Okay. So it wasn't until I got to my A levels that finally I started doing work that we were doing in senior secondary school in Nigeria.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Until I got to my ASA2 was SS1 work. And I was like, OMG. But then I'd had 2 years of faffing. And getting by and being a superstar without much effort. And so I really struggled through my AS and AS. Alhamdulillah, I still got my A's and my B's and I got into a good university. But I think that I struggled. I struggled even through uni because I'd lost my work ethic. I'd lost the thing that my driver. I was so used to getting by without having to do much. And so that is the only kind of, I would say, down point in my later teens. In my mind, I'm like, oh, I wish that I came straight from Nigeria into uni.
Yeah.
Because the jump, anybody who studied here will know there's a huge jump between GCSEs and A levels in terms of the intensity.
Yeah.
A levels uni is like Nigeria intensity.
Okay. You came back to the UK.
Yes.
You've gone through uni.
Yep.
And then now you're working, right?
Yes.
What was that like?
So alhamdulillah, I remember, when I got my results for uni, feeling disappointed. And it wasn't until my graduation that I was like, Zahra, no, you've done well.
But why was you disappointed?
Because I felt like I got a 2-1, alhamdulillah.
Okay.
But I said it was like the effort thing.
Yeah.
I didn't put in an effort. It was tough, it was hard, but I felt like if I had put in the effort that I know I could, I could have gotten a first class, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I understand.
And so I was disappointed in that sense that, I could have done better.
Yeah.
But I think it was grad that kind of made me just appreciate that this is a huge achievement.
Yeah.
Getting a 2-1 isn't beans.
Oh, 100%.
It's a huge attainment, and that was the beginning of me learning how to appreciate what I have done and have achieved. I remember final year of uni, like not knowing what it is I wanted to do.
Okay.
And then alhamdulillah, this is where representation. This is where representation comes in. This is where having somebody who is like role modeling comes in. One of the sisters in our circle had done an internship with one of the big 4.
Okay.
And I'd never heard of them, but I know that everybody was like, wow, she got an internship with this huge company. And I was like, what do they do?
Who are they? Yeah.
And I went to the website and I was like, this is me.
Yeah.
That was my first exposure to consulting, and I was like, this is me.
Yeah.
This is like, you're a doctor for businesses.
Yeah.
Like, this is me. Like, it was just me. And I was like, because in my mind I was like, oh, city work, investment banking. I was like, I don't want to be an investment banker.
Yeah.
So I studied economics. So I didn't know what I was going to do, and it was final year uni that I found consulting, and I was like, this is what I want. However, it was too late to apply for the September entry.
Yeah.
So I applied for the following year, and I decided that year, while I'm away, if I get the job, I would go to Nigeria and do my NYSC. It's something that I always wanted to do, the youth service. Alhamdulillah, I applied. And I remember even when I applied, I went around, looked at the different companies, and there was one that stood out to me, and I was like, this is where I want to work. That's the only one I applied to.
But why did that one resonate with you more?
Just the environment, the people. I don't know. It's just the vibe. I just like, this is where I want to work. Yeah. And that's the only one I applied to. And alhamdulillah, I got it.
Wow.
And I think that my younger days, I think that my tawakkul was just next level.
Yeah.
I used to be like, anything I want and I put my mind to and I pray for, Allah blesses me with it.
Yeah. It's that level of confidence. It's that level of confidence in yourself, confidence in Allah.
And clarity on what I want.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what I'm missing now. I'm so much more... Because of the blows that life deals to you, it knocks your confidence. It does. And I sometimes I'm like, I wish I had the confidence of that 20. I always say, if anyone said to me, what period would you want to go back to? Yeah, it's secondary school. It's that period. The carefree attitude that I had was next level. I was just doing. Yeah. I was doing, I was going, and I was achieving. Like, that's it. I'm not losing anything. Whereas now, older, you're always thinking about, the risk assessment is really high. Wallahi. The risk assessment. I'll be risk assessing everything. So if it doesn't go right there, what will happen here? And my mind will just become confused, no clarity. Exactly. And then I'm at that standstill. Exactly. We're stagnant. And that really, for me, is it's the perfectionist in us. Yeah. The fear of failing. Yes. Wanting to get it right first time. Whereas then, we were just doing. Yeah. Nothing to lose. It's true. Nothing to lose. I started my first business, my clothing line, when I was... Oh my goodness. 16, remember? Yes. You just brought back memories. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Let's talk about the clothing line. Let's talk about it. Because I became a proud owner of one of your pieces. And I was just like, let's talk about that. Oh, God. So... when you then decided to start this clothing line, what was it that got you there? So it was frustration. I'm
Okay.
6'1".
Yeah, because we're tall girl gang. We are the tall girl gang.
I'm 6'1", and I was just frustrated with one particular Ankara. I took it to the tailor and she spoiled it, and I was like,
gosh.
I could have done this better myself. At least I would not
Yeah.
have paid.
Because Ankara, once it's spoiled, it's spoiled, guys. There is no coming back from it.
I was just annoyed. Before that, I think, it like summer school stuff in Camden back then, they had so many different things. You could go for cooking classes, fitness classes, fashion classes. I went for a class, I learned how to make a skirt.
Okay.
And I was like, ooh, this is so cool. I made my first skirt when I was 16 or something.
Yeah.
The previous summer when I was in Nigeria, I've always been very creative. I did art in AS.
Okay.
So I've always used to, like, Nigeria, you go and sketch your work, show it to the tailor, So the tailor had said then that, we went for the summer holidays, that if I want to come and hang out in her shop for like the week and learn, like I can do that. And so I did. I just went. So with the knowledge of that one week
class,
summer school thing I did at 16, the next summer I went and hung out in the market, Aleshaloya market in Ibadan, with my tailor, learning how to sew. And I sewed my first Iran buba, just like, and I remember then they were looking at, this is Alako with tailor, because I was like writing, showing, sketching.
Yeah.
And I came back home, and Nigerians are amazing. They're so industrious, because we're here, somebody is a pattern cutter, someone is a stitcher. Nigerians do everything. They give you a style and they just like figure, and they figure out the pattern. So I learned how to pattern cut. I learned how to do all of that. And I just, armed with that knowledge, I started sewing. And so I remember then just being frustrated with, I want to learn how to sew stuff for myself because I'm so tall. And then I had the opportunity to attend. So my neighbor, amazing, awesome lady, she has a son that's the same age as me. We were 18 then. And she was going for a T. Herv Ecker Millionaire Minds Intensive conference in Canary Wharf. She showed me at the bus stop and she was like, I have this conference, I have a spare ticket, would you like to come? Oh, wow. Because she just got talking with me, she just loved my energy. And I went to that. That was my first personal development conference that I ever went to. And it was mind-blowing, like Tony Robbins type. T. Herv Ecker kind of has that energy. And that was like a changing point in my life. That's when I learned about passive income streams and stuff like that. And it planted a seed then. It was like, what can you do to create passive income streams and, start working towards financial freedom? This was at the age of 18. And I was like, okay, what do I like? And I was like, oh, let me start a fashion business. And that was it, really. Yeah. That was it. And there
were some beautiful pieces. And I remember the white lace piece that I owned. Me and Kadira, we rocked that to a wedding. Everyone was like, what?
Which one was it?
It was, the white lace, the over that you wear over the abaya.
Oh, my
And it was short in the front and long in the back.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's what I owned. I was like, because just like you being tall.
Yeah.
First of all, being tall. I'm somebody who's not, plus size. So it's not always easy to find something that hits right.
Yeah.
Especially lengthwise, right? So when you came, you showed us pieces like, I got to get these pieces. And they were beautiful pieces, mashallah. They really were. So you owned the fashion business.
Yes.
Now, my memory of you really kicks in.
Yeah.
When we were bump buddies with our last borns, with Yasser and Amaya, we were bump buddies. Yes. And you came to the UK and you done the launch. And you started speaking about the different seasons that people can be in.
Yes.
This is where my memory of you kicks in. This is where the value of who you are kicks in for me. Because I remember sitting at that launch and looking around the room and thinking, these are the people that truly love you because they showed up for you, number one.
Yeah.
But number two, they truly valued the words that you were saying to them. And I just remember sitting there and I scanned the room and I thought, and I looked at you and I thought, no. This is someone, the power in this girl or in this woman, I don't know what it is, but the power that she has, the eloquence that you have in which you delivered that day, I couldn't believe. Honestly, I couldn't believe. And I was like, I need to find out what got you to this moment of this launch and starting to really establish yourself within the work that you then started to do.
That was my burnout. That was my 2017 burnout after the Essence. That was all post Essence. And I think that was the lesson Allah wanted me to learn from the Essence.
Yeah.
As I hinted to earlier, The second year that we ran the event, I put my everything into it. I just moved back fully to Nigeria then. My first event, I was still working in the UK, and I flew in December to go and put the event on. So, you know, I always say this, that I made a bigger loss financially in the first year, but I was so much more fulfilled. And I was able to quickly recover from that loss because I had a job. I went back after a month or two. I'd filled my savings back up.
Yeah.
Whereas with the second one, I had brought all my savings, my pound sterling, come, all the hopes, aspirations, really wanting it to be a financial success, as you know. And I think that I maybe lost my way a bit. Maybe this is just all me personally, but I remember one of the sisters, you know, at the event looking at me and saying, "Zahra, are you happy?" And I was like, "No, I'm not happy." But everyone was like, it was bigger. It was huge. We had so many more vendors. We had a huge turnout. It was amazing. Alhamdulillah. It was an amazing, impactful event. People for years after, even till now, when is the next Essence? When is the next Essence? When is the next Essence? People have started their businesses from the Essence, launched it. People found business partners. People forged friendships. We met at the Essence. I started wearing hijab from the Essence. I've got so much amazing feedback from that event that has taught me that, you know, that has validated or tried to remove the negativity that the 1% that I looked at, that I felt didn't work, or I didn't show up in my best self. But that event was it. Like I said, I put my everything into it, and I burnt out 2017, and I went into like a really, really dark hole, depressive state. Because I felt like I wasn't my best self.
Okay.
You know, because of the strain and pressure that I put myself under. And I was angry, I was upset, I was all over the place. But the cocoa is that it set me into a depressive state. And for me to be able to claw myself out of that was the cathartic process of creating my Season to Heal audio journal, which I'm still yet to launch. I need to launch that properly. But I launched one episode from that at the event that you're speaking about. And the process of me just trying to process what had happened, trying to find meaning in it, trying to heal from it, trying to uncover the lessons that Allah wanted to teach me through it. I decided that I wanted to, I wrote and I wanted to speak it. And I you know, transcribed, you know, everything, the whole experience, and I recorded it as an audio journal. And that for me was the beginning of this new season in my life and the work that I'm doing, because I recognize that so many events come in our lives as women that knock us down, and we need to learn the tools that we need in order to heal. It took me almost 3 years to really heal from that, really, and come back out again. And I had to, and I remember then, when I was trying to come back out, the energy, Nigeria, my friends, they used to call me energy mama, because the energy that I had to use to do what I did, it took me 3 years to recover from it. And I remember coming back out, trying to come back with that energy, and my body is like, so my body has kind of put up a fail safe. Because it never wants me to put myself under that kind of strain again. And so when I start with the excitement like this, my body drags me back down. And so I'm having to learn how to operate from I need to tap into like a graceful, calm, grounded energy now for my work, as opposed to then it was like an adrenaline energy. Like not sleeping up, doing overexerting myself. But I can't function like that anymore. And it was frustrating at some point, because I would be like, Zahra, then this thing, I would have done it sharp. But that's not what my body needs.
And we're older now.
That's not the fuel.
And we're older. Responsibilities play a part into that. You know, just life as well, you know. And like you said, I think you, mashallah, you are high energy. Mashallah. Anybody that knows you, like, I even asked my husband, I was like, you know, Zahra, like, have they always been smiling families? Like, they always smiling, mashallah. So let's go back a little bit, because before the seasons, you got married.
Oh yeah.
What was that season like?
Oh gosh. So that was post-uni grad scheme, when I wanted to move to Nigeria to get my to do my youth service and all of that. And I was, my mum got married at 21.
Okay.
She had all her kids by 25. So that's my role model growing up. And so that was the aspiration that I had. I wanted to be married by 21. I remember wanting to get married at 18 even, and then just like, get married. So I remember after uni, like once I was done with my exams and whatnot, I went to my parents and I was like, oh yeah, where are all the eligible bachelors? Because by that point in time, just warming up to the idea of, I remember younger we were like, oh, how you meant to marry someone if you don't know them? But Islamically, just realizing the merit in actually, I can't, if this person hits these criteria that I want, I could actually marry anyone who hits that, because it's Allah that puts the love and the rahmah in the relationship. Marriage, but just being very clear on what I was looking for through failed, relationships, if that makes sense. But yeah, I wanted to get married. I was very clear on that, alhamdulillah, and I knew what I wanted. And alhamdulillah, through multiple mutual friends, I was introduced to my husband. We hadn't seen each other because he was in Nigeria, I was here. We were just talking online, and we were engaged in 3 weeks.
Wow.
He came to the UK for a work meeting. I picked him up from the airport, and that was the first time we met. Okay. And we just wanted to establish, do we have a physical chemistry?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
My dad happened to also be flying that day, so I picked my dad up in the morning, him up in the evening, and the next day he came to my dad. Yeah. Alhamdulillah, Allah just arranged that whole situation for us, because my dad knew his dad. Oh, wow. All of that. So it just made it easy. Yeah. Allah made that whole process so easy for us. And I always joke that I was coming to Nigeria to come and look for a husband, because I knew I wanted somebody who was, born and bred in Nigeria, but had the exposure. Yeah. Just because of what I had seen of having the opportunity to live on both sides and seeing how the energy and the passion from both sides. It might not be true today, but my 20-year-old self was like, I felt like, Nigerian men in Nigeria and that environment are just a lot more motivated. There are motivated here. There are motivated men in the UK, but I just felt for what I wanted for my life. Yeah.
And for you.
Yes.
It has to be a next level of motivation.
Yes.
No, and I think it's perfectly fine to say that.
Alhamdulillah.
I think it's perfect, because at the end of the day, we all know what we want. Yeah. And, marriage to us is not 6 months, 1 year, it's for life. So if I know that I need a particular person because of the way that I am, then so be it. Yeah. And if that's what he was, then so be it.
Alhamdulillah. So, I haven't touched on this in this conversation, but, having a supportive spouse is so paramount for any woman.
Oh, especially like you, Zahra.
On her journey.
Like, you are a high achieving woman. Let's just be honest. You're a high achieving woman, mashallah, tabarakallah. With the things that you've done, the intentions that you have set, you've smashed them. The Fariha Network, by the way, is a huge network of women. Like, it's not in your 10,000s. You have a huge network of women. And I always say that, a lot of people see who we are on the outside, but actually the credit goes to the people that are on the inside, our men, our husbands who are holding it down, doing the childcare, the support, that sees the tears, that sees the break. They see everything. Yeah.
He's literally my therapist.
Honestly, my husband says to me all the time, he's like, if people knew exactly what you was like, I wonder. And I'm like, no, but that's the beauty of having an intimate relationship. Yeah. That is the beauty. And I do want to touch on that, because it's really important, because I think there's so much narrative around, if he don't support you, you should leave him, if it's not this. But actually, no, it isn't like that. We can touch up. There are elements of you also cultivating and nurturing your husband to be the person for you. Yeah. So we're definitely going to touch on that, inshallah. Yeah. So you've met him, married, babies, the seasonal journeys had started. Fariha Network. Yeah. How was that born?
So, as I mentioned at the start, Fariha Network was born out of my postpartum experience with my daughter.
Yeah.
And again, he was an amazing support because it was a very, very, very tough time. Like, you know, I remember him, you know, at one point saying that, you know, with obviously pregnancy, motherhood, the whole shebang, it's a life and death. You're literally on the curtain is just like this for anybody who has given birth. You're literally on the curtain. So he's like, you know, because of society, you know, you mentally prepare, even though you don't want to acknowledge, preparing, what if I lose my wife in childbirth? What if I lose my kid? But you never prepare for, what if my wife is institutionalized and she's, you know, incapacitated?
Yeah, it's true. We don't think about that, do we?
You don't. So that he was, you know, he always says that you think that you're tough. You think that Allah knows your number.
Yeah.
Allah knows your number.
Yeah.
You know, and I've never seen my husband break down. And, you know, he broke down during that time because of how left field it was.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But alhamdulillah for his support, for the support of my parents, that my mum was absolutely amazing during that time. My dad was absolutely amazing. And I remember there was a moment where I was literally having a crisis. I was breaking down and I was like, you know, telling my mom, like, you know, I could see that my mom was so scared, and it was affecting me. And I, you know, and one of the issues that I had was that I hadn't slept for like 5 days.
Oh my gosh.
And I was in immense pain, like immense pain. And I hadn't slept for like 5 days. And I was like, I had to self-discharge myself from the hospital because NHS are just... I had to self-discharge.
A love and hate relationship.
So I got home and I remember I was just panicking. This was the day of the Aqiqah. And I was panicking that I needed to sleep. I wanted to sleep, but I couldn't sleep. And I remember just like spiraling. And, you know, my mom was looking flustered. And I was like, Mommy, why are you looking? You know, I was then getting frustrated with her. And my dad just came in and just held my hand. And he was just, you know, stroking my hand.
It's okay.
Stroking my hand. And then, you know, for me during that period, I needed like a physical reminder to kind of like, so that was like, and for me, I was like, how did he know what to do? I remember when the health visitor came and she was like that. She was like that. My dad was, I remember he was just sitting in the corner and I was like, basically I was ranting and, you know, I was ranting to anybody else. They'll be like, this lady is mentally unstable. But I was saying things like, you know, Allah this and this, and like he's the one that, you know, I was just, you know, ranting. Yeah. And I remember my dad was there and he just did like this to me. And just did this. And it was instant. I just shut up. Like, we get it. You don't have to tell this one. Yeah. But that woman, she insisted. She made us go to the GP together.
Really?
Yeah, because she was like, if not for the fact that you're in this home, I can see your mom, your dad, your husband, we will not leave you with this child.
Wow. And
then went to the GP, as a family GP. She's been with us for years. And the GP was like, you know, she's fine. She'll be fine at home. She'll be fine. The woman was like, me, I'll take this child away.
Really?
Yeah. Because she just felt I was that, you know, off, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I remember just that moment, my dad was like, like, don't talk anymore. Yeah. And I got it. So, you know, even my relationship with my parents was strengthened during that time. Yeah. You know, they were just what I needed. Nobody was trying to even though I was not fully myself, they were still listening to me. Yeah.
But then it goes back to that bond that you have with them when you was growing up. They were always the grounding that you needed. Yeah. Sometimes we just forget where to find it, isn't it? Where to look for it.
Yeah.
But they were always the grounding that you needed. And the way that your dad grounds you is more of his physical presence more than saying.
For me, it was just like, you know, it just showed me that my parents have clearly gone through life.
Yes.
And I was able to appreciate that because of how they were able to show up for me. And I pray that I'm able to do that for my children as well through all this that I'm learning. Yeah. It's, you know, I'm able to, in their time of need, support them in the way that they need. Yeah. And that to me was it. And I just had a newfound respect for both of them and my husband, because they were just amazing. Even my friends. I remember one of my friends coming and everybody was obviously confused.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And then I remember I had slurred speech.
Okay.
photophobia. So I wasn't speaking well. It wasn't my voice.
Wow.
So everybody was afraid. But even through that phone, I could see, it's like I could, that period, I had a heightened sensibility. So it's like I could see your soul.
Yeah.
You're not talking to me, but I could see your eyes. I could see you looking at me, and the fear. Like, I was there. Like, my brother would say that, you know, I remember I wasn't too worried, because even though you were a bit in the la la land a bit, I could still see that you were
still
there. I was just connecting on such a higher, like, I felt like I was on a different frequency level. Yeah. Some of the things I was connecting weren't necessarily true, but I was making connections. I was just like in a different headspace. I feel like, you know how it is, like when people say like, oh, genius is 50% madness sort of thing. Like I was definitely in a heightened psychological state. So, you know, I was like, you know, you have like, I was like manic, but on the, you know, you could be like depressed and you could be hyper. It was like hypermania. Like I was, you know, I was overheating. I remember I had like verbal diarrhea. I couldn't stop talking. And so I remember then as well, I was like writing profusely. Like I still have all the journals and stuff. I remember in the early days, I was just like writing. It's almost illegible what I was writing. But following on from that, I had like a thick book, just like writing and writing and writing and writing and writing. And that was how it was born. That was how Umm Fariha was born. Out of all that writing and all the everything, I was just like pouring it all out on the pages, and that birthed it.
So with the postnatal psychosis, is that what you had to present? How did you start to heal yourself? How did you start to heal yourself, and when did you find that you started to get better?
So alhamdulillah, like I was in my, I would say, trance-like state for less than a week. Alhamdulillah. And I remember I just had so much support. I remember then, like with the sleep one, my dad said on that first day when I had self-discharged that don't force yourself to try and sleep. Just rest. So if you can't sleep, it's fine, because you being on the bed trying to force yourself to sleep is causing you more anxiety. Just rest. Just listen to Quran. You know, and just try and follow the words in your mind. What makes you happy? My dad, this was all my dad. He was like, your wedding video. Just watch your wedding video. So I had my wedding video on repeat.
Really?
Yeah, it was just, everybody was just like, what? I had my wedding video on repeat, and I would just be singing like from the engagement. And the engagement with one of the songs that I'll just be there, I'll be singing. Everybody was like, I remember visitors came, and I was just there, and I was just singing and they were just looking like,
what's going on? Yeah.
And it quickly excused themselves. So
I was
like, okay, we've seen, you know. And I remember telling my friends, like, you know, what did I say? Like, if I'm talking too much, I can't control it. I had lack of inhibition. That's what they called it. I couldn't control. Just physical touch helps me to reconnect, if that makes sense. I remember there was one night that I woke up, and I remember I just woke up like this, and it was like I heard, you know, that the hadith that Allah comes down to the first heavens and He asks, you know, who is, you know, making the Allah. I felt like I heard it, and I remember just waking up, and I just started WhatsApping all my friends, WhatsApp group that make the praying for people, blah, 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 make deep prayers. And I remember one of my friends, Lazama, called my husband, and she was like, take Zahra's phone away from her. Literally. And she was like talking me down in the group. Because I was just like blasted. And she was like, mashallah, thank you, sis. Da, da, da. Just to kind of not allow other people out in the group, I don't really know what's going on. And she was just like, and she just come out, was just like, take Zahra's phone away from her, because I was just hyper. So, you know, I had that was like my week of just like, but I had people around me that were not panicking. And then I went to my in-laws. So the health visitor didn't see me when I was in my worst state, if that makes sense. I was just cocooned with my family and my friends. And everybody just let me, let it out.
You have that, and I think that's I think I was just about to say that you being given that time to expand, to breathe, to have that outlet of just, okay, this is just what my body and my mind needs to do. Because I think too often when we see something like, we're like, okay, what's going on? Need help, this, that. And I think actually sometimes let's just allow that expansion to happen. If the expansion happens and we're still at this point, then yes.
Yeah.
You know, but expansion has to happen. You know, like I've said to you before, when I'm pregnant, I suffer from antenatal depression really badly. And, you know, it's, as I've, you know, as the pregnancy's gone on, it's got worse and worse. And it's like, actually, just allow me to be. I will be fine.
Yeah.
There's a cloud over my eyes, over my head, and I know it's there for the 9 months. It could be worse, it could get better, but for now, just let me be.
Yeah.
You know, Kadira will be like, you're not in the mood today. No, I'm not. And that's it. Yeah. She knows that there's distance. You need to give me my time, you know. Yeah. And I think, you know, friendships like that, like I said, it's those unspoken words.
It is.
It's all the things that you want to say, but you haven't said is what they pick up on.
Yeah.
And that actually, for me, is where healing begins.
Yeah. Honestly, as I said, like, for me, the biggest realization for me was like, people go through this and worse and don't have the support.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why for you, your village, Fariha Network is super important.
Yeah.
So you birthed Fariha Network. Now you're starting the work. What are some of the things that you are seeing in the community that is coming through Fariha Network that is keeping you going?
I think for me, there've been 2 moments where I've wanted to give up. The first one was after my burnout. I resented my community for that 2017 episode, because I just felt like I wanted to do so much, but the response was just lackluster. And then it wasn't until after it was all said and done, when people had seen the success,
as it usually is.
That's
when, be fair,
my phone is ringing off the hook.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, I want to do this in XYZ state. Come and tell me how to do it. Oh, well done. It was so amazing. Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I didn't need you now. When I needed you, you were telling me, oh, why are you charging 1K entry fee?
Yeah.
People are not going to come.
All the haters, shall we say.
Literally.
Yeah.
You know, so for me, I was very so that whole experience, you know, it required a lot of healing, because you can't operate from a place of resentment. And this even comes in sometimes with like motherhood. Sometimes we might resent putting our careers on hold or having to be the ones doing this and doing that. And resentment can show up in different ways, and we have to honor that feeling. And we have to you know, just address the root of it, if that makes sense. And so that's, you know, one moment that I had to really overcome. I'm trying to think of what the second moment is, but essentially I think what I'm trying to say is that you are going to experience times in your journey when you question whether this is worthwhile, whether this makes sense, why you're doing this and doing that. I remember 2020, you know, really fighting, you know, I would say surrendering to Allah with regards to the work that I'm doing, and wanting to make money. Wanting to be financially independent and putting that above, because this community is a community that takes and gives in a soulful, intangible way, but not, it's one that I'm sustaining financially, you know, and I really wanted to, you know, for me, I said to myself, you know what, I'll put this on hold, go and make money, then I can fund it without any issue. Because I think one of the issues that I had in 2017 was that I was trying to make it financially viable. But that's not what my community was about at that point in time. And even till now, I am still trying to be very disciplined with, at least let's be able to generate the income to be able to pay the staff and our subscriptions and stuff like that. You know, I shouldn't have to be working to pay those things, because what's the point? But it's not going to give me that financial independence that I'm seeking. And so taking that pressure off of the network helps me to approach it from a more authentic place and serve from a more authentic place. But there's always that question and conflict, or that pressure with, do you charge, do you not charge, how much if you do, blah, 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 how do you make it financially sustainable, and all of that. And so that's a question that is always threatening the sustainability of it, but I'm having to find little ways to ensure that I'm staying true to myself, but I'm also operating in a way that doesn't hamper the work that we're doing. And you always question yourself, because you want to be able to do things for free, but do people really value things that are 100% free? It's a question that I'm still working on. I'm still trying to figure out. And any woman in business, any person who is doing community-based work, it's a challenge, and it's a question you always need to ask. And it's one that I'm still tweaking and working on, but just trying to ensure that I'm operating from a place of, this work that I'm doing is a long-term thing. And I tell myself now that, you know, what keeps me going now is I've given myself 10 years. And I'm like, if I'm at a point and I'm like, have I been doing this for 10 years yet? Like a new 10 years, like 2020, 2020, 2030, inshallah ta'ala, may Allah grant us long life and good health. I want to be able to relentlessly pursue and build this for 10 years. And if I hit bumps on the road, and it's 10 years is not up yet, I'm not allowed to throw in the towel. I'll keep adapting. I'll keep, you know. And there's something that you said actually when we went for brunch the other day, that you keep serving as long as your community keep needing you. And that is beautiful and brilliant. And it's now the onus is on me to satisfy the financial need somewhere else. Because at this moment in time, trying to put that pressure on the network is just going to break it. I need to just keep showing up. I need to keep doing the work. I need to keep serving. I need to trust that the outcomes will come when Allah wants it to come, if it comes. And if it doesn't come in this world, it's coming for me in the hereafter, inshallah ta'ala. And so I think that that's helping me to take that pressure off, because that's what will make you give up. That's what will make you give up. The work you're doing is impactful. And when I come from a place of, and this is something that also keeps me motivated, if I put on an event, if it's one person that comes and benefits, that's enough.
Oh my.
When you do that, it takes
those
the pressure
words,
off.
Let me tell you about those words that you just said. My very first event that I done for Sisters in Business, I said, if only one person turns up, I am going to throw the event as if there was 20 people there. And that's how I am. My staff now, I'm like, okay, guys, should we take this event down? They're like, no. Still show up. And I think that's what sets different entrepreneurs aside from the rest. Because yes, sometimes it is about the numbers and it is about getting the money in and all of that. But actually sometimes it's just about giving a little bit from here. And just showing up. Because there is so much strength in that showing up.
That's it. And that keeps me going a lot of the times. Like I would do an event and, you know, I'll be wanting maybe 20, 25, 100, whatever it is, Zoom or whatever. Maybe 9 people come. But I need to always remind myself that those 9 people, Allah wants them to be in that space. And alhamdulillah, what we're doing now is we're building we're building assets now. We're building our online repositories and our libraries. So I'm like, 9 people are there here physically, but because of the assets that we're building, inshallah ta'ala, thousands of people will have access to this for generations to come. And so we need to not have a short-term we need to try to not have a short-term mindset with the work that we're doing, because it's still work. So that's what is really keeping me going now. It's still work. If it's one person, I'm doing the work, but I'm being smart and strategic with the way that I'm packaging it so that it can still be of benefit and generate those what's the word called when something is like just automatic?
The evergreen.
I'm building that evergreen. I'm building up that evergreen. So that's really it for me at the moment with Fariha. I'm going to keep showing up and serving. I truly believe that Allah puts me in certain situations in my life so that I can learn the lessons and then teach it to others. I 100% believe that, because that's been my reality. In every season I've been through, I've had an opportunity to learn and then serve through those lessons that I've learned. And so I'm going to keep doing that because us as women, we live in just this very relentless, turbulent world. There's always something throwing us off course. And we're continuously on this journey to building resilience and finding harmony and cultivating harmony and trying to be our best selves with our different roles and responsibilities. And we need the support. We need the support. And that's really what at the core is what I'm trying to support. What I'm trying to provide is helping women, no matter where you are on your journey, make the most of that season that you're in, because there are lessons in that season that Allah has put you in that is meant for you.
Yeah.
And oftentimes the tension comes from resisting that
Yeah.
and not leaning into that and
Yeah.
trying to do what we want to do as opposed to what Allah wants us to do in that space. And so that's it. That's the work, and that work will be valid.
Yeah. And
Inshallah ta'ala.
the
For the
legacy
rest,
of that work, subhanallah. And you know, we've kind of touched on it, and then I've gone away from it a bit. But talk me through the seasons. What does the different seasons look like?
So for me, the first season that we often always resist is our winter season, our autumn winter season of rest. Our autumn winter season of rest.
Yeah.
The time when we are meant to be in hibernation, where we are meant to be filling our cups up, where we are meant to be taking it slow. We resist that. We hate women who are like me, high achieving, you know, highly motivated. We hate stopping because we get so much validation and so much of our sense of self from doing constantly. And so, you know, that autumn winter season is vital for us to replenish and fill up our cups. And alhamdulillah, more conversations are happening around that, giving women the permission to just say, hey, I'm taking time for myself, which is amazing to see. Then for me, I have like sometimes is it autumn, is it spring, also a bit of winter, just that transition phase where you are planting seeds. So once you have rested, you've topped yourself up, you've replenished, you've decomposed your mind, you've decluttered your inner state, then you can start planning. It's still a slow season. You're planning, you're planting the seeds, you're cultivating the land, you're pulling out the weeds, all those things that don't serve you. You know, you're putting up your boundaries, you're preparing, you're nurturing, you're cultivating. That for me still is like part of your autumn winter season. You need to do the resting, and then when you have your clear head, you then go and you start cultivating and you're planting your seeds, and you're recognizing that as I plant this seed, it's not gonna bear fruit straight away. And you're learning how to be patient, and you're learning how to show up every day and water the seeds and pull the weeds out. All those things that are going to threaten your seed from germinating and then, you know, bearing fruit. You're being very mindful. You're being conscious. You're learning about yourself. That I feel like I'm kind of in that season now. I'm in that space now where I'm in a new space and I'm having to plant new seeds and pull out the weeds and be very hyper vigilant and conscious and whatnot. And then the season comes when you start to sprout. It starts sprouting and you start to see little results. But again, you can't rush. You can't at that point, see one small fruit and you uproot everything. Because you still have to keep building on that, cultivating it. There's still pests that could come and threaten that fruit. So again, you're starting to see some small rewards from the work you're doing, but that's not the be all and end all. And there's sometimes when, I say sometimes it's like, it's not the same energy that I've said this in my soulful letters. So I write soulful letters Fridays when I can. That it's not the same energy that it takes a seed to germinate, that it takes a flower to bloom. And for me, I feel like sometimes when we have planted that seed and we're covered, it could feel like depression. It could feel like it could feel like tension. It could feel like pressure. Something in our lives might happen that requires us to break in order to germinate and then see the light. So we have to bear and be patient with all of that. And then when the season comes for blossoming, it's not that energy you are using to cultivate land, to weed. When it's time to blossom, effortless. When you said blossoming, I just thought femininity. The flow. That's it. Then because of all you've learned, you can then enter a stage where for the results, for you to get to where you were, you don't have to, I don't know how to explain it. You don't have to force a flower open. It just blossoms. You leave it, you leave it. So you have to trust that the work you have done is enough. It's enough for that result to come effortlessly. And when Allah's bounty comes, it comes that flow, flow, that ease. It's not you. You need to recognize that outcome, the fruits, the blossoming, it's not you. And sometimes what we do is we hold on so tight. because we're like, oh, the results finally come, and we forget that it's not us.
Yeah.
We've done the work already.
Yeah.
This is the time to enjoy it.
Oh,
This is the time to
that
enjoy
gave me
it.
goosebumps.
Alhamdulillah. So that is it for me. And then you have to realize it doesn't last forever.
No, it doesn't. So you have to go back.
You have to go back
and recultivate.
Yeah.
But then it will be a little bit easier because you've got the experience from the previous cultivation.
Yeah. So you now know, you recognize the weed, you know the pest, you know what pesticides to use, you know, and all of that. And then you can be more graceful and know that, you know, life happens in seasons and cycles.
Absolutely.
And so when the next cycle comes, you recognize that and you do the work, you hibernate, you do the work, and it continues, and that's life. Yeah. And that's all the transitions from your children changing schools, primary to secondary school, supporting them with this and that. Hubby, maybe you're moving to a new country, and that's it. It comes
in different ways,
and in all those different ways. That's it. But yeah, that's it. For
you
me.
know
That's what seasons are for
and
me.
it is beautiful. And I think there is no better way to end this than for me to ask you, what season are you in now?
Yeah.
And what is it that you love the most about yourself?
So I would say that I am in my cultivating season. I'm in the season where the weather is harsh, the wind is tough, it's raining hailstones, it's, you know, constant changing. It's, you know, how this cranky London weather is. It's snowing today, it's sunny tomorrow, you know. So I'm in that season where I'm having to be very adaptable.
Yeah.
Be very dynamic. I'm in that season where I'm having to recultivate my land because I've moved to a new place now. I'm not in my old farm.
Absolutely.
I'm in a new farm.
Yeah.
It's a new type of soil. It's a new environment. It's a new weather, and I'm having to learn. But alhamdulillah, because of my experience of farming so many different grounds, I'm able to come into this one and recognize that, okay, we're going to have to work again.
Yeah.
And I'm having to go back and pull on the lessons that I've learned from my previous farms, from my previous orchards and gardens, and bring all that knowledge to this new space.
Yeah.
And recognize that it's not the same, it's different. But I do have the tools to be able to cultivate this land and make this land beneficial for me.
Yeah.
And so that's really the season I'm in now. I'm trying to understand the lay of the land again.
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand and plant seeds and recognize that not all the seeds are gonna germinate. And I need to figure out, okay, what are the seeds germinating, and follow that path. And that for me is trusting Allah.
Yeah.
Putting down my roots and trusting Allah that, okay, this is where Allah wants me to go. So this is the type of fruit that blossoms in this type of land. Okay, I'll go with that. And that's where my being multifaceted, being very adaptable and dynamic comes into play, because I could be this, I could be the strategist and the consultant, I could be the cultivator, I could be the mummy, and I need to plant my seeds. That's me just showing up, putting that effort in, but not being like, this must work. No, because whatever it is that Allah wants me to do and achieve in this season is what will come to pass. So I need to listen to that and not fight it, essentially. So that's really my season that I'm in right now. And in terms of your last question, you said, what do I
love the most about
myself? What do I love the most about myself? I've never had to ask myself that question.
Wow. There has to be a beginning. Because I don't think we take time to really deep the things that we love about ourselves, the things that we like about ourselves. I think we know all the things that we don't like. Yeah. We know all the things that we don't love. Yeah. But what is the thing that you love? I'll tell you all the things that I love about you.
Oh.
And I think it's all the words that have come up in this conversation. Resilience, cultivation, nurture, understanding your intuitiveness, listening to yourself, understanding that in all the places that you do show up, that it doesn't always lead to the most fruitful moments. And I think those are the things that you really need to look into and understand, that those are the things that are really what you are and what you're about. Because there's many people in life that will tell you all sorts of things. Many people in life that can read off quotes. Many people in life that could be deep, but the soulful impactness doesn't happen.
It won't happen.
And I can firmly say, from professionally to knowing you personally, that you are all those things in different ways. And I'm pretty sure the Fariha Network would also echo what I'm saying. So in all the moments where the weather is changing or the weather may seem harsh, just also remember in those moments that this is why Allah gave you the resilience that you possess within yourself, because He knows that you can handle it.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
And I thank you so much, because I think we talk about our journeys a lot. We deep our journeys a lot. We understand our journey because, you know, it's what we've been through. But there's not so many people that understands the emotion, that understands the turmoil behind it, that understands the uprooting, that understands everything that comes along with being on that journey. A lot of people don't have insight into that. And this is why I believe having insight into it is super important, because of the community that you're leading. Because people just need to know that we are just like them. What sets us different, what sets us apart, is that I decided to act on an idea that I had and decided to make it impactful in the community. That's the only difference. So Jazakallah khair, because it's been like I said, this grounded conversations that we have, that, you know, of moments of laughter, moments of reflection, but also moments of just allowing ourselves to put our feet on the ground. And I thank you for that, because in every conversation we have, I have all of those feelings and more. MashaAllah, tabarakallah.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. No, it's been really lovely being here, because as I said at the start, we often forget. We go through our lives and we're just constantly doing it, and we take it for granted that, you know, this is a blessing.
Yeah,
what
definitely.
you're able to do, it's an absolute blessing.
Absolutely.
And alhamdulillah, I'm thankful for Allah's guidance. I'm thankful for His support. He is sending me helpers and what I need in moments when I want to give up or I'm unsure, I'm unclear. I thank Him for always bringing me back and blessing me with something that can be an anchor, and a constant kind of circling back for me, so that even if I get lost on the journey, I always find my way back home. And alhamdulillah, I pray that it continues to be of benefit to the community, to my children, to their children, and it's, you know, a legacy that will outlive me and be of benefit to me in my bars and on the Day of Judgment. Alhamdulillah. So thank you for the opportunity to reflect and share and unpack. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair, my love.